Have you ever been in the middle of a sentence and suddenly felt a strange wave of realization? You stop talking, not because you've forgotten your point, but because you've realized that the person in front of you isn't truly listening. You look at them, and for the first time, you feel no urge to make them understand. You simply go quiet. Most people see this silence as a sign of defeat. They think you've run out of arguments or that you're being passive-aggressive. But psychology suggests something much deeper is happening beneath the surface. When a person stops explaining themselves, it's rarely about anger. It's about a profound shift in their internal world. It is the moment they transition from seeking external validation to protecting their internal peace. This is the psychology of the silent observer. One of the most prominent traits of those who stop explaining is a high level of emotional economy. They have reached a stage where they realize their energy is a finite resource. In the past, they might have spent hours trying to clarify their intentions or defend their character. But now, they understand a hard psychological truth. You cannot explain your soul to someone who is only looking for a reason to judge you. They have analyzed the return on investment of their words and decided that silence pays better dividends than a lost argument. This behavior often appears in people who have mastered the art of detachment. In psychology, we talk about the locus of control. People who stop explaining have moved their locus of control entirely inward. They no longer need the person across the table to agree with them to feel that their reality is valid. They know their truth. They know their worth. And if you don't see it, they've realized that it's your loss, not their burden to fix. This is a quiet, intense form of self-assurance that doesn't need to shout to be felt. There is also a deep layer of observational intelligence here. These individuals are often highly sensitive to social cues. They can sense the exact moment a conversation turns from a genuine exchange of ideas into a power struggle. When they see that the other person is listening only to respond, not to understand, they withdraw. They recognize the confirmation bias in others. They know that if someone has already decided who you are, no amount of logic will change their mind. So they save their breath for those who actually value the weight of their words. This silence is also a sign of someone who has experienced explaining fatigue. This often happens to the most empathetic and intelligent people. After years of being the one who bridges the gap, the one who softens the blow, and the one who translates their emotions into a language others can digest, they simply get tired. They realize that they have been carrying the weight of the relationship's communication on their own. Stopping the explanation is a way of setting a boundary.
This is where I
It's
stand.
a way of saying, I am no longer responsible for how you perceive me. Furthermore, psychology suggests that this trait is linked to a high degree of self-sufficiency. These are people who have learned to provide their own closure. They don't need the other person to say, I understand now, for them to feel at peace. They can walk away from a misunderstanding with their head held high, because their identity is not tied to your approval. They have found a way to be okay with being the villain in someone else's story, as long as they are the hero in their own. Many people who reach this stage have also developed a profound acceptance of human limitation. They understand that everyone sees the world through a lens colored by their own traumas, biases, and ego. They stop explaining because they realize they aren't just talking to a person. They are talking to that person's entire history of defense mechanisms. You cannot argue with a defense mechanism. You can only wait for it to drop, and if it never does, you move on. The next time you see someone simply nod and walk away, or choose not to defend themselves against a false accusation, don't assume they are weak. Don't assume they are guilty. They may simply be at a place where their inner peace is more important than being right in your eyes. They have traded the noise of the world for the clarity of their own mind. They are choosing to live in a reality where their actions speak louder than any sentence they could ever craft. This silence is the ultimate form of maturity. It is the realization that your time is precious, your peace is sacred, and your truth belongs to you alone. It is the moment you stop begging for a seat at the table and realize you are the architect of your own room. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Because when you stop explaining, you finally start living for yourself. If you love understanding why people think and behave the way they do, subscribe to Silent Mind Files. Because here, we don't just watch behavior, we decode the mind behind it.